Intention is everything. Far too often, people hide behind a false facade. They hide their intentions, seemingly to do nice things, but it's not pure. And the thing is, like when you're on a spiritual journey, you can understand on a deeper level. So effectively, our angels, our spirit guides, and even the higher echelon beyond that, they know everything we do. But more importantly, they understand and know the intention behind it. So they know whether something is pure or ill-gotten, for ill gains. There's a video that came up yesterday or earlier, and it just confirmed what I've been thinking all along anyway. There's this priest. I think he's a priest. I don't know if he died and had like a near-death experience or whether it was a vision. I don't know what it was, but he had an audience with God. And the angels told him if he was to go in and visit, he must stay. So he knew that means he dies. He wasn't prepared to die. So anyway, so God allowed him to speak, almost like represent yourself. It's almost like a court appearance. So he's trying to portray himself as I've done all these great things. He's pointing out all the things he did that were wonderful. And then he said God's voice was like thunder. He said, "You didn't do that for me. That was not in my honor." And that for me just typifies religions. I'm not going to go on a huge spiel about religions, but there's too many of these false prophets, these false people within the religious community who portray one thing, but secretly in their life they're completely different. You see it all too often where you've got these families that turn up to court just to have this like false pretense that they're great people. At home they're abusive, they're power hungry, they're dominant, they're not nice at all. But yeah, they turn up to church and they're all these wonderful families. It's like just that even on that scale, you see it all too often. And I've always said this: why is there so much poverty in the world if religion is so pure? It doesn't make sense, does it? How can you have these leaders who have all the money and all the wealth, and yet the people they supposedly represent are suffering? It's obvious there. So what this guy said just made sense. That's exactly what he's saying. You're acting like you're bringing me to them, and you're speaking on my behalf, but you're only doing it for your own gain. So they understood the intention. So they allowed him to come back in front of God and state his case again. This is what the guy said. And he decided to stay quiet this time. And then God told him some truths. But this time he didn't do it in a harsh tone. He did it comforting like a father to a child. And I like that. Now, in my books, I cover God slightly. I did a chapter on God in one of my books, and I made the point that I can't be 100% sure there is such a thing as a God. I haven't determined that at all. There's no way of quantifying that right now. On my journey, at least. But that was this thing that happened. It was more like what I'm focusing here, not specifically on the notion of God. It's more the fact that I've been told by others, and I know it within myself, and this is more confirmation, that intention is everything. I see this all too often, especially when there's crime. Sometimes someone does there's an innocent crime. Let's say people were playing, someone gets hurt or someone dies. Someone has to be, in our state of law, someone has to be held accountable. But if the intention was never to do harm, and no one expected that, everybody participated in the same way, and an accident occurred, then it's an accident. In the eyes of God, I'm assuming they all see it the same way. It was unintentional. It's what? How can punishing someone be justice? But in our law, within humanity, there is such a thing as the justice for everything, even though the punishment doesn't fit the crime. And that's my opinion on it. So that also goes in our own lives. You can pretend to be something, but like I said, our angels see everything. So even if you're wishing bad on someone, they're aware of it. Even if you don't do the action itself, you're still wishing it on someone. And what it is, our energy can attach to people. So if you want someone to be quiet and you have a strong intention of that, you can manifest energy and energetics attacks on people. So if they're not healing themselves and they're not doing their grounding and protection, which I've mentioned before about David Wolfer's books, if you're not learning and administering that to yourself, those attacks can penetrate. So even if you didn't want to, you could say you didn't want to, but the intention's there, isn't it? You can't deny an intention. You can deny it to people. You can't deny it to the universe, if you like. So yeah, intention has consequences for people that you're intending it on, but also for ourselves because it's being judged continually. So on the outside, you could pretend maybe you don't do an action, but you have the intention. So the intention is just as important. Obviously, if someone follows through with an action, then it's worse, isn't it? But even the thought itself is just not good. And that messes your own energy up because it puts you in a negative state anyway. So you've put yourself in a negative state of awareness to the point where everything is a negative. There's always an intention for harm. There's always an intention for reprisals. There's always an intention for someone to lose at your expense. And it's like, that doesn't serve a good purpose at all. And like I said, it's being judged all the time. So yeah, I mean, if you do anything, so the whole real point here is you can make mistakes. And if it's a genuine mistake, the universe can understand that. So there's no point beating yourself up because you did something wrong when the intention behind it was always pure. It's not a case of you pretending it was pure. You'll know innately whether you had a negative intention for it. But we all make mistakes. Maybe we hurt someone, it really deeply upsets them, and you feel so guilty for it that you're like apologizing, but you don't even know how it happened, or you genuinely didn't mean it. And it's like a simple apology is enough. You've rectified the situation. The universe has watched. You didn't mean it. It's purely accidental. There was no ill intent. So there's no crime to it. There's nothing that's going to get a karma to it. There's nothing attached to it. It's done. But like I say, there's a lot of people in this world who are negative, vengeful, spiteful. I see a lot of influencers. I see straight through the influencers at the moment, these ones that are supposedly famous. No discernible talent. They offer nothing positive to society or those around them. What I see is you get the up-and-coming influencers who want to attach themselves or mimic the ones who are already successful and have an audience, have fame. So they want to be that. You get the successful ones, the ones at the top of their game, the influencers. They will allow the up-and-coming ones around them to an extent because they want to keep themselves relevant. So that's important because if one of those was to become big, they have that relationship with them, It all goes full circle. I can see it. I can see people getting bored of it all, to be honest, because it's so fake. Like, I'm surprised others are not seeing through it as much as I am. I'm sure some people are, but some people are still susceptible to it. These people don't desire to do anything nice in your life. They're not uplifting you. They're not. The entertainment is very minimal at best. They provide nothing meaningful. They're raking in profit from the audience. Some people, I guess, gift as well. I don't know, but it's just reached that point for me where I just think it needs to end. Yeah, that's run its course, because if we're going to go on intention there, the intention is purely greed and status. And they will use anything at someone else's expense to continue that status. I've seen a lot of it has turned into sort of these influencers now turned into boxing and fights and things. Whatever they can do, it's almost like gladiator now. Anything they can do to one up the other and try and have more status. And it's just like, this, like I said, it's gladiator. So this is like really caveman mentality just to be on top. And it's like, I did this in my book. Would you rather be a bear or a wizard? These are the bears. I'd rather be a wizard. I'm not interested in sort of portraying physical strength and dominance. I'd rather just be me. Wise enough to see through the nonsense. My intention isn't negative. I have a pure intention. So even if people in this existence didn't understand that, or they're always hesitant, or they consider something maybe too good to be true, or there must be something behind it. Our angels, no, there's nothing negative to it. I come from a pure intention, which other psychic mediums will be able to pick up on and they're aware of. So yeah, I live a pure life. I live a pure intention life. I don't sort of wish ill on anyone, and that's innate within me anyway. So all we can do is try and educate people to sort of like focus on themselves, because effectively, if you just focus on uplifting yourself, you're not hurting anyone. Why is this huge, heavy focus on other people? Because it doesn't get you anywhere. I notice the influencers, but I'm not jealous of them. Whereas I know other people who do get jealous of it all. You know, they look at what other people are doing, the following they have, the status they have, and they think, why have they got there when I should be there? And it's like, well, you just focus on yourself. Them not having it isn't going to give you it, you know. And I think understand that. Like I say, so many people get attached to what other people are and where they are at, and they kind of want to get there without understanding there's a process. The way I look at it is some of us have to take the hard road. And the reason there's the hard road is we gain experience, which builds wisdom. But also, the hard paved road allows a long-term sustainability. These influencers are short-lived. Maybe they survive 5 years. You know, you might say it's a long time. It ain't really. It's not really, is it? But they're going to have a hard time letting go because they want to stay relevant. So effectively, they've gone from, I'd say, very shallow entertainment to then they've gone to sort of gladiatorial sport to try and act like they're the toughest. When that expires, they'll then try and turn to intelligence and knowledge. So they try to latch onto people thinking their money and popularity will be enough to sway people. Now, if any of them try to attach themselves to me, for instance, they will be told to bugger off quite quick, to be honest, in other words. Or I would just ignore them completely because I don't need that around me. You know, I can see through people. So I know the intent of people. And that is the biggest thing. They can't sway me or manipulate me or try and goad me or trying to... They just couldn't sway me. You couldn't give me a sob story and expect me to go, oh, okay. Oh, if you've changed, I can see through people. I know what they're like at their core. You know, I know greedy, spiteful people when I see them. I can sense it straight away. In the past, sometimes I give people the benefit of the doubt, but they've always proved me correct the first time. So I know I am very good at judging people's character, and I just won't put up with it. You know, I won't use someone use me as a tool to elevate themselves. It's not going to happen. But like I say, I see through people, and like I say, I see through a lot of things. Most of what I see comes true. So I'd say watch these influencers over the next few years. There's going to be a lot of infighting, a lot of backstabbing, because it's almost like an act of survival. There's going to be fewer people gifting them. Their popularity is going to wane, and they're going to be scraping scraping the little barrel of what they can get, and they're all going to be fending for themselves. And then they'll go and vanish into a meager existence. We'll look back in a few years' time at what was popular back then and think, what on earth was people doing? That's embarrassing. So, like, where people like me speak up and we share our voice, we share our history, we share our story, we share our vulnerabilities, we share our healing journey and our spiritual connections. Now, in this existence, in this time frame right now, potentially you could be ridiculed. A few years ago, definitely would have been. But the point is, everything changes. So those that ridicule will then look at those of us who start to shine and elevate because we're coming from pure intent and the world wants more authenticity. We're fed up with this shallow stuff. I am, for certain. I don't like all this shallow content and these shallow people. It's like, you know, you do look on and wonder, what is entertaining about this? I don't get it. Ain't for me to pick the entertainment for someone, you know, but to each their own. Like I said, the main focus here is the intention of it all, though. These people, all they're looking to do is make you poor for themselves to get rich. That's all it is. There's hardly ever a thank you, and if it is, it's very short-lived. Then they continue to attack, and then they lose that appreciation anyway. So even if they were appreciative in the first place, they definitely don't get appreciative as they get further along because it's almost like they expect it now. They expect that income. They expect that audience. And they figured out what people want to see. So they just keep hemorrhaging it, you know, to like keep getting more and more likes, more and more content. And I see some of them, they're proper cretins. You know, they provide absolutely nothing. And yet they think because they've got followers, they've got status, they consider themselves like almost like a celebrity. And I'm thinking, no one knows who you are in mainstream. If you look at what your skill and talent is, I couldn't label it. I just look at the content. I don't get it. So you know it's short-lived because there's no talent behind it. You can't have no talent and be popular for your whole life. It doesn't make sense. Like I say, social media goes in trends. It always has done. A social media platform changes. TikTok may be on the up and up now, but there might be a time when TikTok ends. YouTube has been sustainable for a very long time. But even the content on YouTube has evolved. I can only say from first-hand experience because I don't know what everybody's watching. I know from my point of view, I prefer to watch content where someone's educating, someone's advising, someone's giving informed information. So for instance, I recently upgraded my microphone. So I'm watching a lot of content on people reviewing and testing out microphones. And I think that's helpful to my life because I need this information. It helps me rather than me buying a load of microphones myself, having to test them all and then send a few back. That's cumbersome. Watching someone be a lunatic on camera, over sensationalize. I did a video on sensationalizing content, over exaggerating, should we say, not being natural. That does not entertain me. Now, it might entertain people. I don't know. Again, not here to judge. Really, it's more the intent behind it. Like I say, but these people helping, they're going through they're going through a whole series of situations to sort of provide you with the best advice they can give you, and I think that is worth more. That's priceless. You could say what I do as well, where I try and share my healing journey, the spiritual journey. That'll be priceless to people in the future, if not now, in the future, because there's going to be people who start this journey. It's new to them, and they need answers. And I've been documenting my journey since 2020, I think, and I've done it through my books and through plenty of content on video. Most of it's on TikTok, but I'm moving content over to YouTube now, so there'll be both. So, but my intent is pure. I want people to elevate themselves. Look beyond the illusions. And look at people's intent. I think once you open your eyes, it's very hard to close them. I'll say that much. So once you see these beggars constantly say, "Give me this, give me this," I need it. It's so cringe. It's cringe. I don't ask people to anything. I just share my content, hoping it helps them. Then I make more content, and then I go off and do something else, and then that's all I do. It's not to compare people, but it's the intent behind it. Like I say, even if you go over far back as you look at the religions, it's quite funky to me. I don't trust it. Even someone's face, I think, tells you a lot. There's like a pastor. I don't know who his name is. I think a lot of people will know if they saw him, especially in America. There's a guy. He talks incredibly dodgy. Like if you was to have a villain in a film, that's how this guy talks, and it's like, even if he's a nice guy, I don't trust him at all. I don't get a positive vibe from him for starters. And his voice and his face, it just looks like a sinister lunatic. But people fall all over themselves for him, and we'll see how that ends. But I think, like I said, I think people, just even their appearance and the way they present themselves, I think can tell you a lot about them as well. Like you should. I don't know. I mean, I'm good at seeing through people. I always assumed everybody else could. It turns out not everybody is. So people get susceptible to this. It's not for me to throw shade over individuals, and I very rarely name a name. I'm more generic because I don't like that. I don't like people being attacked personally. I think it's about just opening our eyes to what is around us and recognizing the intention of other people. What are they looking to gain when they create something? What is their content about? Are they helping anybody? You start to realize most of it's meaningless. But then also look at ourselves. Why do I do this? There's nothing wrong with wanting to create a business. There's nothing wrong with trying to build yourself up and elevate. So there's absolutely nothing wrong about it. But I think just be open and transparent. When you create a business and you create content, yeah, these people that, like, for instance, I bought the microphone off the video I saw of the microphones. Of course, they're going to make money off those videos. That's the whole point of generating content. You can't always do everything for free. But I wouldn't say that's their own goal. They obviously have a passion for it, and they're focused on something they have a passion for, and make a business out of it. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Because you have to make a business out of something. But I'd rather contribute my time towards these people than these others that are trying to create false entertainment and pretending to be something they're not. Just to take from people, I don't agree with it. But again, it goes beyond that. We're talking about even in criminality and things. Is that intent behind it to do spiteful things? And you can't turn around and go. So there's two ways of doing this. You could say someone didn't hurt someone. Let's say someone didn't hurt someone, but there was an intent to do harm, but it didn't happen, and you nearly did. Let's say someone attacked someone. They meant to do a lot more damage. It didn't quite go as bad as it should have. They intended it, but there was an intent to do serious damage. So from their point of view, I didn't do anything. It didn't get hurt, really. It's only a minor thing. Though you actually intended to do some serious damage, that deserves punishment because the intent was there to do that. On the other side of that, let's say you hurt someone, but you didn't even mean to. It was a genuine accident. then where's the fair punishment for that? Because I don't understand that. You punish someone for something they did that was a genuine mistake. Yes, something's happened to someone, but I'm also spiritual, so I know most things happen for a reason. Of course, we have free will, but a lot of things happen for a reason. So effectively, the laws that bind us, let's say someone didn't mean to hurt someone, but something happened to them. It may very well be in the universe, because we all have a moment when our time expires. We've come here for a purpose. If we can get our head around that part, we all come here for a purpose, so we have a journey to take. Our ending is predefined to the most part. So it may very well be in so many lifetimes we've had an easy end. We want something a bit more daring, or something a bit different. It may very well be that was actually what was supposed to happen. So in the spirit realm, you ended your life in the way you was always intending to end your life. It was ordained. In the human experience, that doesn't look so good. We can't have that. Now the person who did that, if someone got hurt, is now going to have to spend like a long period in jail, or going through a lot of legal issues. Now it's not for me to determine what's right and what's wrong, but it just makes that point really, that we live our life by different rules than the universe, and it's governed in a crazy way really, that people rule over us. It doesn't make much sense to me. Anyway, it's about looking at ourselves really, and the intentions that we live by, because we can't control other people. We can observe, recognize, but also just focus on what we're doing. So, like I said, I'm surrounded by a lot of negative. The world is a vastly negative place. It's easy to be susceptible and copy, but I refuse to. I did a video earlier about like having authentic content. I could do a sensationalist headline and get a lot of views on my videos, but I'd rather be honest and have integrity. So my videos don't get a lot of views, but I refuse to do a sensational, these clickbaits. I'm not doing it because I'm better than that. I hold myself to a higher standard, and I refuse to lower myself for that. Again, that's the same thing, isn't it? The intention behind those clickbait contents is to waste your time so they get their views. So they've gained at your expense. It's the same thing. It all goes round. It's literally be the world you want to be a part of, rather than what other people are creating. That's how I live my life.